The third Caliph, Uthman. Uthman ibn Affan was born 7 years after the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He learned to read and write at an early age, and as a young man became a successful merchant. Even before Islam, Uthman was known for his truthfulness and integrity. He and Abu Bakr were close friends, and it was Abu Bakr who brought him to Islam when he was 34 years of age. Some years later, he married the Prophet's second daughter, Ruqayyah. In spite of his wealth and position, his relatives subjected him to torture because he had embraced Islam. Because of this hardship, he was forced to migrate to Abyssinia. He later migrated to Medina, where his business began to flourish once more. There were no limits to his generosity. That is why he came to be known as Ghani, meaning wealthy. Uthman's wife, Ruqayyah, was seriously ill just before the Battle of Badr, so he was excused by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, from participating in the battle. The illness Ruqayyah was suffering from proved fatal, and she died, leaving Uthman deeply grieved. The Prophet was moved and offered Uthman the hand of another of his daughters, Kulthum. Uthman was blessed to have been married to 2 of the Prophet's daughters, and so he was known as the possessor of the 2 lights. Uthman participated in the battles of Uhud and the Trench, after which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, intended to perform Hajj, so he sent Uthman as his representative to the Quraysh in Mecca, who detained him. The situation ended in a treaty with the Meccans known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. He had many good habits that characterized his life. He often spent part of his night in prayer. He fasted every 2nd or 3rd day. He performed Hajj every year and looked after the needy of the whole community. In spite of his wealth, he lived very simply and slept on bare sand in the courtyard of the Prophet's mosque. Uthman memorized the Quran and had vast knowledge of the context and circumstances relating to each verse. During Uthman's rule as caliph, the characteristics of Abu Bakr's and Umar's caliphates continued. He stood for justice for all, mild and humane policies, striving in the path of Allah, and the expansion of Islam. Uthman's realm extended in the west to Morocco, in the east to Afghanistan, and in the north to Armenia and Azerbaijan. Uthman made a most notable contribution to the cause of Islam. He took it upon himself to compile a complete and authoritative text of the Quran. Uthman ruled for 12 years. The first 6 years were marked by internal peace and tranquility, but during the second half of his caliphate, there was an uprising. Uthman breathed his last on the afternoon of Friday, Dhul Hijjah, 1735 AH. He was 84 years old. The power of the rebels was so great that Uthman's body laid unburied until Saturday night, when he was buried in his blood-stained clothes, which is the best shroud for all martyrs in the cause of Allah.